What's up, Legion? Welcome back to I Still Call It a Lariat. We are a pro wrestling podcast. We are the world's okayest pro wrestling podcast. We are actually the greatest pro wrestling podcast being recorded at this exact moment with these two individuals right here, right now. With me, as always, to talk about NXT and AEW stuff, my boy Hound Dog. Hound, how you doing today?
Hey, Steve. Good to see you, man. I'm okay. It's nice being past all of the being sick and stuff. It's good, man. I'm looking forward to chit-chatting a little bit, talking to the Legion, seeing what they ultimately agree with, disagree with. If we can start some kind of a war in the comments, it'll be hilarious.
Yes, down here, down in the comments below. Got Legion, anybody who is listening or watching us, if you like what you are hearing or watching, please make sure to hit that follow, hit that subscribe, hit the like button. You have no idea how much it helps the show out. We just came off a really well-viewed our review of the Royal Rumble. Did very, very well. We hope that all of our episodes do that well. Guys, we are growing and we are doing great, and I have to thank all of you for constantly watching us and constantly tuning in. It is amazing to see it happen. But with that said, let's get into some of our nonprofit stuff. First and foremost, as always, is going to be Tap Cancer Out, a series of jiu-jitsu tournaments that helps out with varying cancer relief projects. As soon as they actually pull up on my screen, because it is not working right now. Awesome. Here we go. Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher's Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, CureCervicalCancer.org, First Descent, and of course, Tom Coughlin's J Fund.
The J Fund. Oh, I don't have much of a voice right now. I'm still getting over that a little bit.
Oh, we're all getting over it a little bit, man. Also, of course, with everything that's been going on in the world, please, guys, go check out the American Red Cross and their varying disaster relief between hurricanes, flooding, wildfires in the West, cold fronts that shouldn't be happening. There's just stuff going on right now, and these folks are helping out as best they can. Anything that you can do is greatly appreciated. And of course, the last one that we go with is the one that's probably the nearest and dearest to our hearts as wrestling fans and part of the wrestling community, and that is Chris Bay's GoFundMe. Like we said, we constantly hear good updates on what is going on with Chris Bay, and that warmed both of our hearts. But guys, just keep helping out. We're going to keep plugging for this. We appreciate the fact that the wrestling community comes together for stuff like this, and that Chris is doing so much better than he was. We look forward to him just doing better and better and better. And as Hound always says, our prayers and hopes are with him.
Amen.
But with all that, Hound, I think we're supposed to talk about wrestling.
I don't agree.
I mean, we could talk about like world issues, but that's even more depressing than wrestling sometimes.
No, listen. The Legion does not need to hear our hot takes. They already know how dumb we are. They don't need to know how dumb we are.
Remember, guys, Steve Zapf. I'm running for the next presidential election. I was going to go for 2024, but I don't know. It just didn't work out. I couldn't get the funding. All right.
I just want to be Secretary of the Interior. I don't even know what that does, but I want that title.
Exactly. Yes. All right, Hound. First thing I want to get into is WWE releases a ton of talent. All right, a ton is a strong word, but a good amount of talent. This seems like the first set of releases just before they start doing some releases after WrestleMania. So they kind of do this every year. They release a couple people to maybe free up some salary before Mania, so that they can do some bigger stuff, and then they do it again after Mania to release even more, to free up even more. So the group of releases as it stands right now is the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering, the Good Brothers, Cedric Alexander, Duke Hudson, who was part of Chase U, Giovanni Vici, Electro Lopez, Blair Davenport, and the two that surprised me the most, and that's Isla Dawn and Sonya Deville. How are you thinking? How are you feeling about these people, Hound Dog?
I mean, I'm surprised about Sonya simply because she was in. Good Lord, I always forget the name of that faction that she was just
The
in.
Pure Fusion Collection, and she was just in the Rumble. Like they did a lot of stuff in the Rumble with her too. Her and the rest of the group.
Exactly. I mean, they say that there was a release there. Who knows if it was, it might have been mutual. I'm sure that could come out in the end. Because especially if they were doing something on TV with her. I'm not surprised about the Good Brothers. I mean, what is this, the 19th time they've been released?
That's kind of the running joke that I keep hearing about is how many times can you release the Good Brothers? And I was like, well, at least 3.
Yeah. Paul Ellering and the Authors of Pain, it's a shame because the Authors of Pain have something special. And I mean, honestly, I know I say this when we hear about releases. I think those two should head to Japan. I
can see that.
Like, bring 2 monsters over to Japan. I think they could do something special there. And Paul Ellering, with his ties to Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors, they also had some memorable moments in Japan, and I know Paul Ellering did as well. So over there, you get a little bit of nostalgia for Paul Ellering, and I think the style over there would suit the Razor and, was it Akam?
Yeah, Akam, I think it is. It's pronounced, is how it's pronounced.
Yeah, and I just realized it's like their name is a play on the theory of Occam's razor, which just clicked in my head, and I was like, oh, that's clever. But yeah, Akam and Razor, I think they would do really well over there.
How you feeling about Cedric Alexander? I know he's one of your favorites.
Cedric Alexander is he's kind of had like the Ricochet treatment, where he's so incredibly good, but at the same time, he doesn't connect with everybody. So same thing. I think Cedric Alexander should head to a Mexico, head to a Japan as well. I think if he went over to AEW, he'd get lost in the shuffle there too.
So I don't think he goes to AEW. Cedric's wife it's been on record because he was married, or he is married to Big Swole, who her exit from AEW was pretty prevalent. Like it was not a mutual split. It was not a happy split.
Yeah.
They did not leave amicably. I think Cedric would do great in TNA.
But that's still attached to the WWE umbrella. And that's true. That's where, like,
it's where the business agreement gets a little murky. Or are some of these guys released so that TNA can actually sign them, and they're not just under the WWE banner going to TNA?
We're going to have to see what happens with that because obviously you and I, we don't have eyes on the contract. We can't see how they cross the T's and dotted the lowercase J's. So,
I know you said you were surprised with the Sonya one. Isla Dawn surprises me too. I think that I feel like that might have almost been a mutual one.
Maybe. I mean, Isla is very talented, but again, they have so much talent right now. Let's look at the women's division. I mean, for crying out loud, you've got, just on the NXT side of things right now, you've got Roxanne Perez, who's clearly about to be, I would say, post-Mania.
She's Raw bound. I think she's Raw bound.
And yeah, and I think that will be like official, like no more NXT stuff, Raw after Mania. You got Julia, who, we spoke about early on as, oh man, I don't know if she's gonna have the star power to do this. Dude, she's grabbed a hold of this and she's doing well. Stephanie Vicaire. I'm excited about Kalani Jordan. I'm excited about that whole women's division, but then let's go to the main roster. You did just get Charlotte back. It's Tiffy time. You've got
Alexis back.
You got Little Miss Bliss back. I'm always going to pop for Io Sky. Asuka will be coming back. At what point is there room for everybody? So I could see, and I know I keep saying Japan and things like that, but I can see Isla Dawn doing well down in like Mexico.
I can see that. I'm only surprised that it's just Isla Dawn and not her tag team partner. Like Alba Fire wasn't released, just Isla Dawn is. That's what makes me think this might have been a mutual, like, hey, we don't have anything for you. Okay, well then can you release me?
Possibly. I mean,
I could see that, and none of them have spouted off anything terrible about it. Like no one has been, none of the people who have been released have run down the WWE in the situation. So, we'll see where everything goes. Obviously, Legion, we will keep you informed when we know if someone is going somewhere new, because we're interested in this as well. I'd love to see where I agree with you about the Authors of Pain. I think they would do amazing in Japan, or when they get signed by AEW as the journalists of destruction. I was sitting on that one for a second. I'm not gonna lie.
The co-authors of Ouchies.
Jesus, the ghostwriter of hospitals,
something like that. But yeah, it's a shame, man, because those guys, when they were in NXT, they were incredible. Who was that? We're talking about NXT tag teams that didn't, the Ascension. There you go.
Ascension.
Another one who in NXT were fantastic, but again, they got to be the bigger fish in that puddle. And when they got to the main roster, there wasn't much for them. And same thing here. The Authors of Pain, as good as they are, the crowd's not going to gravitate to them like they are to Motor City Machine Guns or to DIY and all that stuff. And granted, those guys have incredible matches with DIY on record in NXT and things like that. And yeah, it's just a shame, man. It's a shame that I guess WWE just is not the fit for them.
I think part of the problem with the AOP is also that they were in that Final Testament group, and you have them, and I think they fit in the group with Cross, and you have Cross and Scarlett and them, and the problem is now you've got Paul Ellering, who is supposed to be a mouthpiece, but Cross is the mouthpiece.
Yeah, Cross does not need a mouthpiece.
He doesn't need a mouthpiece. If you needed to interact with him and someone else, you have Scarlett there. Like, you don't need Paul there, unfortunately. And I don't want to downplay who Paul Ellering is, because he is a legend. He's a very big, important part of this business, especially in this tag team in tag team wrestling. And to us, I love Paul Ellering.
Yep.
The problem is, though, the new generation of wrestling fan has no idea who he is, because they don't even really know who the Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors are. So Paul Ellering just looks like this old man that's standing behind carrying a cross.
Yeah, it's everything you're saying. I saw this. I saw like a reel the other day, and it was this young girl. She couldn't have been more than like 9 or 10, and she's at a basketball game. And it said, "Sorry, MJ, I was born in like 2009. KD is my GOAT." Like, kid who doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. It's the same thing for, like, you know, we could talk back when the Yankees were dominant. Well, yeah, we got to watch Jeter as a kid and all that. And we got to watch Andy Pettitte and Mariano Rivera and all the other folks like that. And now the kids, like, they've got Aaron Judge. It really is just a changing of the guard, man. We're legitimately getting old.
Exactly. Yeah, that's there's gray in our beard. That's what that means. So on to different releases. These are a little bit almost happier, I guess. We've got some AEW releases officially. So Ricky Starks, Miro, and Malachi Black have officially been released. I don't know if Malachi Black was just not a re-signing or he got released. Obviously, Ricky Starks and Miro have both been asking for their release. There has been talks that there wasn't anything creatively for any of these people at points. They've held these guys under contract for a very long time without doing anything before doing this. Ricky Starks only had a few months left on his contract. I'm wondering if they held him here because in order to buy out his contract or release him would have cost them more money.
I'm sure that has part to do with it. And, you know, he is 100% WWE bound, and I don't even think he's going to land in NXT.
I don't think he's going to land in NXT anymore. At one point, I really thought he was going to. I thought we had him in NXT, especially when like Carmelo was the champion down there.
So what I think is going to happen is, the writings on the wall for the Cody going full Homelander. I think Ricky Starks is going to come in and be Cody's lackey.
I could see that. I could absolutely see that. There's talks that Malachi Black is going to be the dark forces that Chad Gable goes and seeks in order to fight Penta.
I love that.
I don't mind that. That's a really cool. I mean, I guess it would be Aleister Black at this point.
So you know what that reminds me of? It's when Aleister Black had the whole thing of just knock, right? If you're looking for me, just simply knock, and it would be kind of a cool throwback if that's how they brought this back in. If Chad Gable did have to go knock, and there he is, kind of thing, because I enjoyed that. The only thing that makes me sad is that he was just so poorly utilized there, and he had such high hopes for AEW. You could tell like he really wanted that to be the thing.
Well, and he came in so hot because of the way his contract was. It was. I don't want to make this show about bashing Tony in this because I felt like AEW actually had a really good week this week. So this is where my critique is of what happened with AEW with him, because he was still under his release clause was under the NXT banner still. So he's one of the few guys that WWE's meticulous law department did not change his release clause to the main roster. So main roster guys have a 90-day release clause. NXT guys only have a 30-day release clause. So when he got released, he was able to go to NXT or go to AEW in 30 days, and no one was expecting. And they did the stuff with him and Cody, and it was great until Cody did his Homelander stuff there, and Malachi Black, who probably should have went over there, didn't go over. And then he was kind of in and out of the system. Like he was there, he wasn't there, he was there, he wasn't there. So a lot of the issue with some of these guys is just the fact that if you don't, out of sight, out of mind.
Well, yeah, and that's unfortunately just our culture now, because everything is so instant. I mean, for crying out loud, this right here in my hand is the sum of human knowledge, and at any point I can go whatever. Seconds later, I have what I'm looking for. So it's very hard right now when people have the attention span of a goldfish on a good day. So it's it really is out of sight, out of mind, and it's a shame too because he's so damn talented, and the House of Black was such a great idea. The only reason I ever wanted them to split up was just let Buddy and Aleister, let them two do what they did in WWE. Just go out there and hit each other really hard in the head.
Give us a best of 5 between those two.
Give us a best of 4 million. Okay? I'll never get tired of it. And you know what? I'll even say this. They missed the boat by not getting Kyle Fletcher involved with him, and they missed the boat by not getting my clearly my arch rival, my nemesis Takeshita involved with him.
Takeshita
gets no soup.
Takeshita, you're lucky. Hound is trying to be a godly man these days. Otherwise,
yeah. I have been focused on my relationship and my faith with the good Lord above, and I am realizing I have to forgive. So Takeshita, I forgive you. Oh, it's so much fun, dude. I really hope I do get to meet him one day, as fun as this all is. And, I'm going to kick Takeshita's head. Dude, first of all, punch me in the face and I'll fall down. Second of all,
so bad.
Second of all,
I picture him having the biggest hand in the world for some reason. I know he's 6'3", but I don't know why. I picture him having a bigger hand than you, and you're 6'9".
Well, I mean, you've seen, dude. I'll show the Legion. I have a giant palm like a bear, but I've got teeny tiny Vienna sausage fingers. It's weird. It's like a frying pan. It's a paw, is what it is. It's just a paw.
That's why we call him Hound. Which brings us to the last one, Miro. Where do you think Miro ends up? Because I've heard he's healthy.
I think he's a great TNA fit.
I really think he's a great TNA fit.
I want to see if they, I don't know if they would call him Miro or Rusev or whatever down there, but I would love to see Rusev Day and I would love to see Rusev Day feuding with Joe Hendry.
I would like that. I could also see him being a good fit to feud with Moose. Two big, beefy dudes just beating on each other. Two big, athletic, beefy dudes beating on each other.
Yes, and when Moose goes for the spear to get Machka kicked.
Yes. Well, that was those were the recent releases. That's all I really have for wrestling news around the world. So let's get to NXT. This is from February 4th, 2025. This is their first time back in the Performance Center after this is the first NXT after the Royal Rumble. That's important information. And the first match that they open with is JC Jane from Fatal Influence against Stephanie Vaquer. Steph looks great, as always, in this match. I thought she did phenomenal. JC Jane still just can't turn me into a fan of hers. It's just not happening. She does, every so often, I see something that I like that she does, but overall, she's one of my least favorite parts of a women's division I really like.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, and I will adopt kind of the wait and see with her, because let's also remember she is very new and she is also part of a group, and she kind of is the least important member of that group. And if you happen to hear this, Miss Jane, I am sorry, just is what it is kind of thing. I think you've got all the ability in the world, but it's one of those where I'd like to see in a few years what happens, because how many times have we seen somebody who is kind of the also ran in a group and then all of a sudden just something happens? I mean, perfect example of that is The Rock. He was kind of the forgettable member of Nation of Domination, and then he wasn't.
I could see that. I will say this. She needs to work a little bit on her range. And by her range, I mean her range of motion, because she threw some kicks in the corner to Stephanie Vaquer, and they was low, like right in the baby maker.
Yeah, no, she definitely hit her in the hoot nanny.
And there was some hoot and a lot of nanny.
Yes, there was. Again, I say that's the whole. It comes with time, and also I think because a lot of these folks are so new, they don't realize, yes, how important the gym is to be a part of it, but truly how important the gym is, and truly how important that proper stretching is, and everything else. So it's one of those things where, again, I think all of that will come with time. And then again, in a couple of years, could very well be forgotten. She could be off to something else. So that's where I want to see what happens. And again, WWE might not be the place for her.
I can see. I actually could see her doing really well. She's another one I could see doing very well in TNA.
Yeah. And that in TNA, it's less of a pressure cooker.
I agree. And so I'll give some flowers here to the group, though. Fatal Influence does a really good job working as a faction.
Yeah.
And distracting the referee during this match and using different heel tactics. At the end of the match, Stephanie Vaquer still goes over clean, which she kind of has to in this situation. She is the big star that they're setting to topple Fallon Henley for that North American title, which maybe we see Fallon get called up to the main roster as well soon. I don't know. I don't know if it's just going to be too saturated at that point, or maybe we see her go right from that to going after Julia or Cora or something like that.
Well, what I think is ultimately going to happen here is I don't think Steph wins it on the first go round. I think she's cost because of the group, which is fine because you protect Steph in it, and then you also legitimize the title run a little bit more. because I think ultimately what we're building towards is where Steph has one and Julia has the other, and it's going to be like a uniting of the two singles titles. I think that's what's going to happen is like somebody holds them up, kind of like when the Warrior won it, but then relinquishes one. So immediately, if it is Steph, which at that point I imagine it would be Stephanie taking it from her because she takes on the world title and now the North American title's vacated. I could kind of see them going that route with it. I don't see the title going to Cora Jade. I think this is going to be good for Cora coming up. And Cora is going to be a good fit for the North American title. I know I get like dad moments about her because I'm so happy to see her doing well. But I think ultimately, if she gets around that and she gets a title run with that, I think she would do really well in that position.
I completely agree with that. I'm jumping on the bandwagon with you for Cora Jade. I think she's doing great work lately. I'm very impressed with everything that she's been doing. End of this match, as we said, Stephanie Vaquer goes over cleanly. The next thing on the show is we get a Lexis King promo. I love his character, even as the heel that he is. My only thing is he switched pretty quickly. Like we made the joke early in 2024, that The Rock went from relatively decent guy to maniacal overlord fairly quickly. Lexis King is kind of in the same boat here, where he kind of switched over to being, a jerk pretty quick after this. During this promo, he claims he's changing the rules of the Heritage Cup. That's which one it was. I was going to call it the Continental Classic. That's AEW. We will talk about Continental Classic later because I'm very excited for that. But he says that he's going to change it to it's going to be one fall to a finish, winner take all, no more rounds. I kind of saw this coming eventually. I felt like the round system that they were doing, it was working when it was in NXT UK, but unfortunately, much as you say all the time, Hound, and you even said it today, we all have the attention span of goldfish. So doing a round system kind of kills it off.
Well, that, and it's no longer a part of the UK because that was supposed to be very, very much linked into British pro wrestling, like exactly. British strong style. And it's okay, fine, person from Great Britain wins it, but it doesn't matter. There's no NXT UK anymore. The Heritage Cup is just part of NXT, which is, yes, is technically worldwide, sure, but it's in Florida.
Yeah, exactly. We're the world. God. He ends up getting interrupted by TNA's own JDC, otherwise known as Fandango. He gets a huge pop here.
As he should.
I know the Performance Center isn't the biggest building in the world, but he gets a huge pop.
As he should.
For coming, and they had him come out to the Fandango music.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was perfect. This leads to them having a match next week. I'm excited about this match. I think this will be really good.
So every time there's Fandango, there's two things that I hope for. Well, there's one that I remember, and it always brings me back to Santino Marella mispronouncing everybody's name and being, I get it, it's a Fandango. But there's that, and then I really hope we somehow get a Prince Pretty and Fandango reuniting of the Fashion Police. And, oh gosh, what is the name of those two who are up on SmackDown?
Pretty Deadly.
Yes, get them up there and have the Fashion Police and Pretty Deadly either feud or have the Fashion Police mentor Pretty Deadly and just, yes, film it, film a lot of it because I will love that the way I love Kevin Owens stuff because you see it right now and you're struggling not to laugh because you know how incredible it will be.
I feel like the way you're thinking about this is the way you love Comedy Okada.
Yes, because Comedy Okada, R-Truth, Santino Marella, and Comedy Okada's the best.
Bitch.
I pressed the wrong button. Beach. Oh, it was the hardest night of my life. It was so easy.
I know, bitch.
So good. But yeah,
Oh,
and Kevin Owens just, I mean, right now we have Maniac.
the baby
Kevin
ladder.
Owens. Oh my God, the baby ladder is, I want a baby ladder shirt. I mean, I want the Cody Sucks Egg shirt. I want the Canadian Dream son of a security systems tech. And I want a baby ladder shirt.
Baby ladder shirt. I'm gonna get a shirt made for our merchandise of you just standing on top of the baby ladder, like reaching for a title.
It's
because you're still tall enough at that point.
Well, it's also me on a regular ladder too. It's just
exactly. Can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, all right. We get some furthering of a couple storylines in the next segment. So we have Ridge Holland versus Stax from the D'Angelo family. Channing Stax Lorenzo, I believe his name is his full name now. I actually really like him.
So do I, but I wish they would invert his name. Lorenzo Stax Channing is a little bit better than Channing Stax Lorenzo.
So I think his real first name is Channing.
Okay, Tatum. Like, I don't care. Use it as your last name.
I don't know. I think that's part of the reason why they just call him Stax all the time. The match is really good. Like I said, I really, really like Stax as a babyface.
Yeah.
He's got a good look about him. He's in great shape. He has good athleticism. He is a worker. He comes from the independents. He gets the House of Fire and always staying alive thing. He has classic babyface written all over.
Yes, we need more of that, actually. We really do.
I've said it before, and you've agreed with me. Like, we don't get enough of, like, bump and feed comebacks. And I think we need a little bit more of that. Mm-hmm. I think we could make what's old new again.
Yeah, everything eventually comes back around. It would be good to see that.
We get Sean Spears' group looking on again. I still can't tell in this whole thing with Izzy Dame if she's double crossing the D'Angelo family, if she is with the Spears group, if she's maybe just with Ridge Holland. I'm not sure. I like how they do the end of this match, though. This is very much how Showtime talks about Braun Breaker learning from his mistakes. They do the same thing with this with Ridge, where Izzy goes to get involved again, and Ridge turns around and catches her, and then like turns around and lays out Stax and gets the win that way. I'm a big fan of Ridge Holland. I think he has a lot of potential. I think they just need to kind of dig in with him a little bit and figure out exactly the path that they want to take him. But outside of that, I think he is a remarkable talent. But I say the same thing about Stax. I think Stax is amazing. I think Stax has the potential where he's going to be a world champion. It's going to be one of those world titles, though, where he's going to be like a 15-year overnight success, I think.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like Cody. I could see him pulling a Cody.
Yeah, that and a Hendry. Same thing.
Or 15, a Hendry.
15 years and an overnight success. But when it comes to Ridge Holland, and I agree with you, they need to dig in. One of the things I really think would benefit him, he needs a legitimate, like, long-standing feud, not the typical we make it through we'll call it, like, I guess, like a season of episodes to get to the next pay-per-view and then on to the next thing, or PLE, excuse me. I think what they need right now is he kind of needs like a legitimate rival and something where people can point back and say, hey, do you remember when Ridge Holland and whoever it is at that point.
Insert name.
Had that classic run of matches over the course of a year where they tangled like 7-8 times and yada, yada, yada. Because kind of like CM Punk and John Cena had that forever feud for a little while. I think he really needs one of them.
I could see that. And The only issue with that is I don't know if there's anyone in NXT that they could do that with right now. Truthfully, the only person I could see him really getting something out of for it, because I like the stuff he does with Tony D'Angelo. I don't think Tony D's the guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not for what you're talking about. I'm not bashing Tony D'Angelo. What I'm saying is for what you're proposing, I don't think he's the guy. I don't think Trick is the guy for this. The only guy I could see him having those series of knockdown, drag out matches with right now is Oba.
Yeah, but I don't think Ridge needs to be near the world title right now.
I don't think so either. And that's what I mean, though, is Oba's the only guy that I see really doing it with him.
Actually, you know what? You know who would be a good fit for it? And it'd also be a little bit of a contrast. Honestly, Eddie Thorpe.
Okay.
Yeah, Eddie Thorpe and him would be good. And again, it doesn't have to go as long as I'm suggesting, but it needs to be longer than our standard build too, is what I think right now in that way. So folks get, kind of like when they had Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly doing their thing and it came across 3 PLEs, or Gargano and Ciampa when they were tearing each other apart across multiple PLEs. I think Ridge needs one of them to kind of cement it. And even if it's in the end where it's something where him and that person, oh, I hated you, but now I have so much respect for you. Let's go do this together. Like you could absolutely do that. I think Ridge is cut out to be a single star, but something like that, and then having a tag partner or just somebody who's on his side, would be great. And then if Ridge gets it, the person who's on the side double crosses him, and you're back to that feuds. Owens and Zayn. There you go.
I honestly think that they wanted it to be Andre Chase and Chase U. And I think part of the issue is everyone was just kind of done with Chase U.
It could be Andre Chase, though. I mean, because he has something.
He's still there.
Yeah, he has something. I don't know what it is, but he has something.
Whatever it is, he's got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for better or worse, he has that.
That thing that he's got. It's him.
I don't. You looking at you, sir.
Finger guns. Oh Jesus Christ! All right, the next. There's actually a good amount of matches on this program, which I'm kind of happy about because we get an impromptu one with Sol Ruka and Zarya against Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan. So Tatum and Gigi using some really nice tactics. And I will say, Russian Australian Overwatch Muscle Mommy looks great in this match.
Yeah. She's definitely she's coming along. Sol Ruka always impresses. I mean that Soul Snatcher is still unbelievable. I'm looking forward to when inevitably they turn her heel and her character becomes super focused, because her talents and her ability to move in the ring. She early on, and it could be the look, it could be the size, the way she's built and how big she is and everything. She's got I'm not saying she'll be as successful as her, but she's got the makings of a Charlotte Flair.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. She's got that. She's got that. Her Tiffany Stratton, Bianca.
Yeah.
She's got that type of pedigree. I always say she looks like she's on the verge of a huge push that just never seems to happen.
I think they're just going to keep her relevant until they figure out what to do with her. I noticed that her in-ring gear has been kind of trending more towards darker colors, and usually that tends to at least in NXT, hint towards a change in character coming. But they've been doing it for a little bit, and so she may very well have been like, I want to wear black. And they were like, okay. I thought, I was like, I know the formula here. Clearly, I don't know anything. So.
In a surprise, Sol Ruka and Zarya win this cleanly against an established tag team.
Yeah, I was surprised about that, but at the same point, unless you were going to, and unless like my idea there that Sol was going to end up becoming more going down the heel route, I could have seen something where if they were going to have the other two go over, like Zarya and her collide at the ropes, and then Soul's like walks off like frustrated, like how could you run into me? Yada, da, da, da. You know, tales all this time. But and who knows? Let's see what happens here, because they also might not think Zarya is ready to stand out there on her own yet.
I could see that. I mean, she's still getting used to the NXT and the WWE system.
Yeah.
The next, we're kind of the meat of the middle of this program is all women stuff. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's where we're at. We're at about, we end up getting pretty much 3 or 4 straight women's segments here. So the next one is it's a Bailey and Roxanne and Julia segment. For the most part, where they all, it's an in-ring promo. Starts off with Bailey and Roxanne in there, and they're about to bring Julie out, and Roxanne takes the mic and says, "We don't need to talk about her. Let's talk about me, because I'm the one who was the star of the Royal Rumble," which is not wrong. Hour and 7 minutes is that's real life. That's legit.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this segment. First of all, the interaction between Bailey and Roxanne is amazing. This is some of the best stuff I've seen from either of them, and this is the best stuff I've seen from Bailey in a very long time.
I completely agree with that. Yeah. I completely agree with that. And, you can tell Bailey's jazzed up about it. You know, and that's the thing. We always use we always say the phrase, people who are closer to the end than the beginning, and that's Bailey now. She's still definitely got a bunch of road left on her career, but I think she's starting to see the bigger picture, and she's seeing who's coming up, and I'd be willing to bet that her and Roxanne have an incredible friendship together, and so that's where they're going to be going with this. And right now, that's incredible for Roxanne. It's a perfect fit.
I agree, and Roxanne during her bit, she kind of bashes Cora a little bit. It's a backhanded compliment. At one point, she says, "I'll go and win all the titles, and then I'll relinquish the NXT title, and maybe Cora can finally win it."
So I don't know if you remember, I said this. I believe that this is how this is all going to go down. So, early prediction, whatever, for coming up for Vengeance Day. Julia pins Bailey is how that goes down, because I think we're going to have one more Roxanne and Julia match.
Okay.
And then in the process of that after the loss, it's either going to be that Cora turns on Roxanne right there. But I think if we're going to do this, we're going to be trying to make Cora the face out of the two of them. So I could see Roxanne being like, "Why weren't you out here to help me?" And, doing that. And then as they're getting ready for Roxanne to transition off, she's going to have that feud with Cora that I've been saying I think is coming.
Oh, she kind of turns on her at the end of the segment. Cora comes out and lays everybody out except for Charlotte Flair, who comes out. So Julia comes out. I like the fact that she's getting a little bit more comfortable to speak on the microphone. It's working for her. And then all this is broken up by Charlotte. I don't want to jump on the Charlotte bashing train, but I will say this: her delivery of this sounds a little monotone during this segment. I don't know, and I think it's her trying to be a babyface, and it's just not natural.
I think it's her trying to be her dad, and it's not natural.
I think it could be both too, because let's face it, Rick wasn't exactly a babyface, but at least he was always him, even when he was a babyface. She is trying to be her dad, which isn't natural. You're trying to be someone else, and you're trying to be a version of him that's a babyface in a lot of these promos, and it's falling flat.
It is, but I mean, how many times have we seen Charlotte try to be the babyface and it falls flat? Because she's naturally a heel. She's just a natural heel.
She's a natural heel.
So, but yeah, I mean, We'll see. I still think I'm on to something. Maybe timeline's off a little bit, but I think that's ultimately what's going to happen here. Is we're going to get one more Julia and Roxanne
singles, and then
it's going to be Roxanne
and then Cora and Jade as the blow off for Roxanne to go up to the main roster.
Yeah, Cora and Roxanne doing that, and I could, and that's a good thing, because for Roxanne to have her NXT time come with her looking up at the lights and her propelling her friend forward is a good thing. I mean, we saw it with Mello and Trick. We've seen it a billion times. It's the NXT formula.
It is the NXT formula. As I said, Cora Jade ends up coming out at the end of this and kind of lays out just about everyone. She takes out Bayley, she takes out Julia, and takes a wild swing with that stick towards Roxanne. So we'll see what happens there. There's a quick backstage segment with Ridge Holland and the D'Angelo family backstage, which is going to lead to a cage match. But Izzy Dame is the one who suggested the cage match. So that leads me more into, is she double-crossing the family? Is she part of the Shawn Spears group? Shawn Spears group is in the background of this whole thing.
This could be an Uno reverse double cross, skip your turn, recross. I have no idea what I just said.
I don't know. I feel like it makes her a triple agent.
It's unheard of.
She works for the UN, like Mama V used to.
Rest in peace, Mama V. Oh my gosh, the most awesome lady ever.
She was a spy.
Do you remember when she took the Nerf dart gun and Ken was like running his mouth and she shot down the hallway and hit him right between the eyes with the
spy? I told you.
Yeah. UN as a missionary. Right. Rest in peace, Mama Vigilia. We miss you. Oh, she was the best.
I'm not a spy. That's exactly what a spy would say.
Sorry, Legion. Like we're reliving a time in our life right now, which was filled with so much laughter and the most delicious food ever imaginable.
So much food. Much food.
And we were not allowed to say no. Ever. I said no one time.
Eat.
She hit me with a slipper.
Makes sense. Was it right between the eyes too? Did she throw it?
Even avocado. Yeah, and then they had me play Mahjong with her, and she just robbed all my money.
That also makes sense.
Well, it was her and her friend, so they just stole like $50 from me. I was like,
yeah,
cool.
So they've got like 300 years of Mahjong experience between the two of them.
Yes, and the two of them were speaking Tagalog and then looking at me. I'm like, okay, clearly you're talking about how I'm the dumb American. Yeah, we'll teach him a game. And Ken's in the background laughing, and then he's like, I told you not to play with him. I'm like, you told me to go play. Never mind.
All right, back on track. Back. The next thing we get is another women's match. It's going to be Kalani Jordan versus Carmen Petrovich. These girls are both really great at high impact spots.
Yeah.
Like they're very athletic. They're both high level athletes, which a lot of this high level stuff, the moonsaults, the spinning kicks, they're really, really great at that stuff. I need them to work a little bit on their basics. Both of them.
Yeah, and well, again, remember, they're both so new. Like, lock up as grass stains. That's how green they are still.
Yeah.
And it's right now, as they're getting that, it's almost better to let two folks like that kind of just go. What was that? Oh, sorry, my cat. My cat has the zoomies. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear that. It's amazing.
Yeah, she's just running. She's just clearly fighting something invisible on the floor right now. There you go. Just fully across my house again. Friggin' avocado. But it's almost better to just let the two of them go, because as crazy as it sounds, they have a natural flow that will work together. And with the attention span thing, you can kind of spot monkey these things a little bit. And they need reps too, on top of working on the basics, which you can get them in there with somebody who grinds them back down into basics. But getting those reps out there in front of people and losing, happy feet and losing gorilla position jitters is also just as important. And so if you're going to do that, I think it's a good pairing that way.
So during the match, So I also like the direction they're taking Kalani. She's getting a much more rougher, more heelish demeanor. I think it could lead to, because she's actually dating Carmelo Hayes in real life. And if they keep her down this path of being a little bit more rough and tumble and being more of a heel character, that could lead to them doing some type of team up with the two of those in the future. And I could see that being very good.
Not only that, everything you're talking about, and I've been thinking about this a little bit, I could eventually see her kind of sitting under the, being brought under the wing of Bianca.
I could definitely see that. I could absolutely see that. We get Jada Parker coming out during this match to distract. It seems like she's there to distract Kalani.
Yeah.
During the match, instead of just finishing with that split leg moonsault that she does, she locks Carmen into a crossface chicken wing. She gets the tap out and then refuses to release it, and they reverse the decision. I like this ending. I like the fact that I like them following the rules like this. I always like we're gonna disqualify the person because they don't release the whole decision. I really like that ending, and I love the idea that you can run this back and be like, well, you never beat. You got the win because I held on to it for too long.
Yeah,
I beat me. And in the fans' eyes, all they view me as is the person who beat you up.
Yeah, and not only that, beat you so dominantly that you were at my mercy till I chose to let go of you. It's a great heel tactic. I think it really is going to be a great heel eventually.
I could see her doing very well with this. And we'll see where this goes. This seems like, I don't know if this is almost like the double flip, like if they're gonna, like we're gonna get the double turn where Kalani's going a little bit more heel and maybe Jada goes a little bit more face, or Kalani and Jada start teaming up a little bit more and maybe they go after the tag team titles. That would be interesting as well.
We have a couple more triple agents happening right now. This is too much.
There's a lot of Triple H triple agents.
This is, oh my goodness. It's going to be a triple Lindy.
Yes.
There's a reference.
There we go. And Kalani's going to have to be the one that does it because she's the only one that can flip like
enough
that
to pull off a Rodney Dangerfield dive.
I'm in. The main event of the evening is A-Town Down Under versus Trick Williams and Obafemi. Not Obafemi. I tried to combine Austin Theory and Obafemi's name there. Sorry.
I like it.
I'm in.
A-Town Down Themi.
A-Town Down Themi. So during the match itself is good. I really like Waller, and I've said now I've come along with Waller and Theory a little bit too. I'm really starting to like them a lot more. Trick and Mason and Grayson Waller, they start throwing some chops at each other during this match, and ow!
They were hitting each other hard. They were definitely hitting each other pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, the right thing happened here. It's important that A-Town Down Under went over in this.
They do it with I like that they do it with Eddie Thorpe interfering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they went down the right path with having the Native American man whipping the man of color with a strap. I don't know if they went the right route with that one. That might come back to, in hindsight, that might look like a bad move.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, listen, yes. Okay, but I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I will say this: Eddie Thorpe and Trick Williams, I think, is going to be a very good feud moving forward. They're doing a great job of making Trick more serious. I think one of the best things they're doing with him is keeping him at a less is more situation. He doesn't cut very long promos now. Now he gets to the point. And I think that's going to work for him a lot more in the long run, where you don't need to go around your asshole to get your elbow. You can just straight line it to the point.
Yeah, that, and it's again, this is following the NXT formula. Trick is definitely getting prepped for the main roster, and in doing so, the babyface losing the title always tends to go more heelish, if not full blown heel. And I think even if this isn't a heel move and this is just a more rugged trick, it's still the formula before he heads up. And I think ultimately his final thing there will be something to propel Eddie Thorpe.
I like that. I think that would be a good thing. At the end of the show, we get like a post-credit scene with a freaky new group that looks like it's premiering at Vengeance Day. We'll have to see what happens with that. Also, Legion, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. With Vengeance Day coming up and with them doing Grand Slam Australia next week, the way Hound and I are going to be doing it is we're going to be reporting on Vengeance Day because, unfortunately, a go-home show of NXT going into Vengeance Day is going to be a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
So we're just going to report on. We're going to do a separate show directly where we review Vengeance Day like we always do. And then with Grand Slam Australia, we might sprinkle in whatever's going on Dynamite in that, but mostly we're going to be reporting on Grand Slam Australia as its own review as well. So I just wanted to let you guys know that before we move on to our AEW stuff. All in all, I thought this was a letter grade of a B for an NXT program. I think they did everything right. They didn't do anything wrong. There might have been a few things that they could have done maybe better, but it was a good show.
Well, they had everything where it was a wrestling show, had a lot of wrestling, which is good because oftentimes WWE does not have a lot of wrestling on their wrestling shows.
I completely agree with that. Let's move on to AEW Dynamite. This is from February 5th, 2005. The next day. So they start off the show with the one thing, or with what I dislike the most with the show. And it's just because it involved Moxley, and I'm just not a Moxley guy. And everything involving the Death Riders is just not doing it for me. It's a giant melee while Switchblade Jay White is cutting a promo. It leads to Switchblade and Rated FTR and the Death Riders all having this huge brawl throughout the arena. And then Copeland challenges Moxley for the title again. Moxley says no. Jay White then grabs the mic and says, all right, well, if you're not going to accept that, maybe accept this. Me and Copeland versus you and Claudio at Grand Slam Australia. I could sink my teeth into that match. That might be okay. 3 out of the 4 guys in that are really good in-ring talents. And then if you get some reins on Moxley, he's actually okay too.
Yeah, I don't want to continually bash Jon Moxley because, just because he's not our cup of tea doesn't mean he's not somebody else's favorite. And neither of us are right in that scenario. It's opinion at that point. It's, different sauces for different folks kind of thing. But ultimately, I do think they got to get this world title away from him. I think Marina Shafir does so much damage to everything there. You're trying to make a 110-pound person be this dominant monster where Jay White, a former IWGP heavyweight champion, was choked out by her. I'm not going to get past that. I'm sorry.
No, I think she's actually the worst part of this group.
She is.
And I'm saying that, and Legion, I fully admit that I have openly bashed Mr. Wheeler Yuta in the past. With that said, Marina is still the worst part of this group. Wheeler can at least fix most of the stuff that, Wheeler can at least fix most of the stuff that I have in the past bashed him for. Marina is not going to get past what we're mad about.
Look, ultimately where I see them going with this is, they're going to end up having, I know you hate it, but they're going to end up having Cope and Moxley do a thing. And I see Beth Phoenix getting involved to be the neutralizer for Marina Shafir. That's ultimately where I think we're heading. I hope they put the belt on Cope.
I see what you did there.
My hope is in Cope. But it's the thing with the Death Riders and Moxley, there are times when they'll cut these vignettes and they'll be really produced. And you're like, I'm with this. I can get behind this. And then Moxley gets in the ring and he hunches forward and he does
he does his little
Conor
dance
McGregor
or whatever.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like he does the Conor McGregor walk without swinging his arms, and it's like, and I understand that you're, a striped polka dot pink belt in friggin' death jitsu, but it's, dude, I'm just over it at this point. And if this whole thing is leading to Darby getting the title, which both of us have been saying, I think at that point AEW's cooked.
I hope that's not where we're going with this. In all honesty, I kind of, especially since he hasn't been on. He's been on in weeks.
Well, I'm sure he's trying to climb Mount Kilimanjaro upside down on a skateboard right now.
I mean, that makes sense. So I don't want to get too bad on this because overall, I actually really liked AEW stuff this week. It's just Moxley stuff is just bad.
So I had this thought when I was getting ready for the show. They have divisions. They have 647 titles there. The problem and climbing. The problem that they have is they have kind of really painted hard lines around who's in what division. And unfortunately, the AEW World Title is the WWE guys for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's the real problem there. Like, as much as, we're not that high on MJF presently or anything like that, but they need somebody like an Omega, like an MJF to hold that title, because right now you've done enough with, and let's think about this. It's Jericho, Danielson, Moxley, the 4 times he's been the world champion right now. Samoa Joe. It's, everybody, with the exception, I think, of MJF and Omega, are WWE guys who have held that title, and Hangman Page.
And Swerve. It's almost dead even, and
don't forget Punk's 2-time champ too.
Oh, Punk, yeah, that's right, yeah. So it's more WWE guys than,
and that's the problem. Is I really think it's muddied the water, and that's why we get more excited for the Continental title. Well, I get more excited for the Continental title because it's Comedy Okada. He's not allowed to lose that title ever.
I know, bitch. We'll get into that, but no, I'm disagreeing with you on that one, sir.
I'm disagreeing with me too. It's just
good.
Comedy Okada needs a belt at all times. He does, and then he needs to go back to New Japan and be Comedy Okada in the Tokyo Dome one time. Because if he does if he flips off the Tokyo Dome,
70,000 people in the Tokyo Dome,
there would be a riot.
The most docile fans on the planet, and all of a sudden everyone would just jump in the ring.
If he did the head slap Ricochet spot and got that echo in the Tokyo Dome, just whack.
Perfect. I'm in. Let's do this. Oh my God.
They've painted hard lines around these divisions, and you're supposed to be using folks in the lower divisions. You're supposed to be building them towards this stuff, and you've really just determined, like, nope, it's the guys from New York are up here, and the rest of you can have everything else, and the rest of you having everything else is the stuff we actually want.
Yeah, and it almost feels like they're painting them down divisions.
Yeah,
like like the whole reason to get. Sorry, I had technical difficulties for a second there. So my whole thing with going after the international title is I would view the international title as what would be the number 2 title, right? Like that's kind of where they've cemented that at this point, which would make the TNT title or the TV title or whatever you want to call it the number 3 title, or that in the Continental about even. And all these guys are like going after the international title and then like being brought back down to the TNT title, and no one's going after the TNT title and then kind of being brought back up to the international title, and then like going from the international title and then going after the world title. Like Ospreay lost the international title, and I get that he had a world title match during that run, but they put him into this forever feud with the Callis family.
Yep.
And once he's done with this, I see him having like a best of 3 series with Kenny after this, because and even though it's going to be a face-face feud. And then whoever wins that might, and I'm putting a big might on that, get a world title shot. And it's a big might, because the other thing is I'm not bashing Kenny Omega. I just don't know if he needs to be the world champion right now. I agree with you that it does need to be one of their guys like that. I just don't know if it is Omega right now.
See, if I had my druthers, I would. The international title's on the right guy. 100% is on the right guy. Truthfully, right now, what they should be doing is trying to, once they get past whatever they're doing with rated FTR, because I don't think Moxley's dropping the strap. I just don't think he is right now. I think when they get past that and they get past this whole, it's Orange Cassidy, Jay White, and Hangman all in that kind of orbit of Moxley, I think the Callis family needs to start hooking up and locking horns with the Disappointment Riders, so that way we can get Kyle Fletcher in there with Cesaro. I forgot his other name. Right,
Claudio.
Thank you. I just had a full-on brain fart. But yeah, we need Kyle Fletcher in there with Claudio and push Kyle Fletcher towards a thing with Moxley. Because if you were going to have a shock title turn and you were going to make something like that, Kyle Fletcher out of nowhere winning that world title and nobody seeing it coming would be incredible.
That would be really good. I think any of their younger talent at this point would be great. It would be perfect. And honestly, like you said, if you put Fletcher on there, that propels Ospreay right back into that world title picture, because you can keep going with this thing that they have that's going. And I'm not even saying that's not working. I'm just saying that they have this thing working. I think Fletcher and Ospreay are working well, and I think that is something that you can consistently revisit.
Yeah, and then again, and you're exactly right. This right there lets them paint outside the lines. This is right now. That's a little bit too much of everybody's coloring inside the lines, and Tony has drawn like the biggest like dividing lines between things. And his favorite toys, if you will, are all the guys who used to be in WWE.
We need a little bit more abstract art on this one.
Yeah, we need some finger painting.
Oh man! Right after the opening brawl, there's an Okada Matthews face to face, and they make it official that Okada and Matthews are gonna wrestle at Grand Slam for this Continental title. Obviously, the best line that I see in the whole thing is, "I know, bitch." Bitch.
I'm just excited for that match. I do think it's time for Okada to pass on the Continental title to somebody else.
I think Buddy Matthews would be a phenomenal Continental champion, and him winning in Australia, I think, would be the biggest pop that they got all night.
Yeah, and it's about time they did something like that with him, because you know how certain people, like we said, like Cody looked incredible with that Winged Eagle title, and Matthews is going to look really good with that Continental title. I think it's going to fit him really, really well.
And I think he's a good choice for 20-minute matches that are all wrestling.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
I'm not sure how to help you with that either.
Good call on that one. All right. First match of the card is Will Ospreay versus a mystery member of the Callis family. And they end up introducing it as being Mark Davis. So how Don Callis ends up explaining this is he bought Aussie Open's contract originally. And then Mark Davis was out on injury for the better portion of a year. So he still owns that portion of it. He still has to fulfill that portion of his contract, basically.
Yeah, makes sense.
Can I ask you a question, Hound? Was this a direct shot at Rey Fenix?
Yes, it was not. It
Like
was
shots fired right there, right? Like
yes, this 100% is. the, okay, this is showing, and this is the biggest difference I think between AEW and WWE. It's not WWE has the bigger stars, of course. Talent is up for debate. You could talk about who's got more talent. And we've been in leadership positions for a long time, and you'll know exactly what I'm saying with this. The difference in the leadership is there's actual emotional intelligence on WWE's side, and Tony Khan still acts like he's 12. He does not have high EQ. And to take a shot like that when Penta right now is nuclear hot on WWE, that's foolish because all you're going to do is make people clamor for Ray Phoenix to be up there, which I'm looking forward to when eventually he gets there, and then Chad Gable has another luchador who torments him.
It's amazing. This match itself is very, very good. This is the best I've seen Davis look since we've seen him come back, and I like that they do the Davis explodes the turnbuckle, and it actually costs him the match. Not because they use the turnbuckle on Davis, but him taking the time out to expose it makes him take his eye off the ball, and he turns around and gets hit with a hidden blade. Ospreay wins. I like the end of this. I like this match. Hound, you and I spoke about this before. They cram a lot of stuff into Dynamite, into what could be one segment is really like 2 or 3 segments. Because right afterwards, Ospreay calls Kenny out to come talk, and we get an entire Omega Ospreay promo. It's weird because during the promo, Kenny says he's making his in-ring return at Grand Slam, but we've already seen his in-ring return. Maybe it's just because it's in Australia, or it's because it was a couple weeks ago. Outside of that, though, this is actually my favorite Kenny Omega promo that I've ever heard him cut. He has nice emotion during it. And like I said, I'm not usually a fan of his promos, and he does very well in this one. So I'm trying to stay positive. I just had to throw that one out there that, buddy, you already had your in-ring return.
Yeah, look, I bet you he fumbled his words a little bit.
Just fumbled.
Which is fine. I'll take Kenny fumbling his words as opposed to telling the crowd that they are his little kittens and they're going to the bathroom in his litter box. Because I don't know if you remember that from a couple years ago. He essentially called them kitty cats peeing in a box. And I went, what?
Yeah, I remember that. No, I recall. I see. I heard the best way to describe how AEW books their television, and it was actually the two guys. Was it Matt Parker and Trey? Is it Stone from South Park?
Yes.
So
Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. They were actually teaching a drama class, and how they were teaching it was when you're writing a scene or you're writing television in general, you should never use the words "and then." If you ever notice, like how we describe AEW television, it's so Ospreay has a match, and then there's a Hurt Syndicate promo. It should always be. You should always use therefore and but, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, so-and-so did this, therefore this happened. But because this happened, that happens next. So that's how the flow is supposed to really work out. And it brought everything that AEW has been doing into perspective so nicely the way they said that. Which I'm going to send you that whole thing so that you can really chomp into it, because it's very interesting how they say it.
Yeah, I would like to really, because I think if you give me that to chew on for a little bit, I think I'll have some interesting insight that some folks haven't considered, since my brain likes to think on the other side of the box, not just outside it.
You're in a whole different box.
It's my box is circular.
All right. Next segment is a Hurt promo, Hurt Syndicate promo.
Yes, a Hurt promo syndicate. I love it.
Hurt promo syndicate. Yes. MVP comes out saying that he'll accept any challenge, and out come the Gun Brothers. They say they'd like to do business like men. Again, it's a Hurt Syndicate. This felt very much like an adult segment.
Yeah.
I like the little slights that they throw at the Gun Boys. They call them ass boys. They have the bit where MVP says, I respect that you're willing to, get in here and scrap with these two monsters, because let's face it, Shelton and Bobby are monsters. And then he says, more than anything, though, I respect your father. Not so much I respect you, I respect your father. And my only thing is it's kind of felt like the Hurt Syndicate they've been cheered more than, even if they're not being presented as baby faces, they're getting cheered as baby faces for a lot of their stuff. And the Gun Boys are also being brought in as baby faces. So it makes it a little hard. And again, I know we've said there's no such thing, but there is stuff.
There is to a point. You can write somebody in as a heel or a face, but the crowd ultimately will determine what you are. Now, I don't think the whole "I respect your father" is a slight. Who are the Gun Boys to MVP? Exactly. That's where it's like, I respect your father, and because of that, we'll do this. I don't know who you are yet. It'd be like if you introduced me to somebody and you're like, hey, this is we use your friend Cam when I first met him. Because I respected you, I instantly liked Cam. And then it turned out we connected great. But and I think that's kind of it right there. Because, well, I mean, it's hard not to respect Billy Gunn. He's 77 years old and looks like he could win the Arnold Classic.
He came pretty close already.
Yeah.
And Colton, the older one, is like a dead ringer for Billy. Like, he is a dead-on clone of Billy Gunn.
Yes, he is.
And
there are worse genetics to get than that.
No, like, he's got Billy's height. He's got his smile. Like, he looks like Billy at the end of the Smoking Guns.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, he hadn't gotten so big yet, but he was already cut up. And then Austin, the younger brother, he's the perfect mouthpiece for this. He is great at cutting the promo. I'm disappointed because so clearly the Hurt Syndicate is probably going to win this match, and maybe this isn't the best way to bring the Gun Brothers back in just to get stomped out. But hopefully they do it where they don't, and they have some fire in there. And I'm being optimistic that this works out in the best for them.
So let me offer you this with that. I do think the Hurt Syndicate, this should be a 65-35. Okay. In and around there. But yeah, the Gun Boys can have their fire up. There's worse things in the world than taking a whooping from those two. And if they learn from that and you watch them climb through the ranks, because ultimately I think we're going to get the Hurt Syndicate hooking it up with FTR. And yes, please.
Yeah, all day.
But doing that and those two doing their thing to get the Gun Boys back to it, to watch as, we came in, we want to do this like men. We're going to do this like adults. And then, and kind of, think about it. Think back when you were younger, and it's, you challenge the old man to something like that. And you find out that, yeah, okay, I got youth in this, but age and treachery beats youth and skill every time. So you get a little bit of that going, and then it kind of seasons the boys a little bit. So maybe a year from now, we hook it back up, and that's where they get past them. But there's worse things in the world than that, and it could be a really good start to an arc for them.
I agree. And like I said, I think there's a way that they do this where they come out the other side better. I think it just needs to. And I think with these three guys, the Shelton, the MVPs, and the Bobby Lashley, I think they're good enough to make it. They'll agent to match the right way to make it work. so that the Gun Boys come out the other side better too.
100%. 100%. Because if nothing else, you're talking about two unbelievable, consummate professionals in Shelton and Lashley, and MVP as well.
You get a little short backstage segment with Hangman Page, where it kind of feels like they're slowly turning him back into a babyface. You get Max Caster kind of interrupting him and saying he's the best wrestler ever, and Hangman starts hunting him down throughout the show. Wait, is this one? I think that's not this one. I might be confusing last week. Either way, it definitely feels like Hangman is turning back into a babyface a little bit. And then we get the match that I was really looking forward to on this show, and that's the Hounds of Hell, which is Buddy Matthews and Brody King's new tag team name, versus Kyle Fletcher and Hound. You already forgave him, but Takeshita.
You're lucky, Takeshita, that I have
that all he had to deal with was Brody King. Because that's essentially you.
But yeah.
It's you.
Wish, dude. I wish I could move like Brody King. Yeah, I'm sure. There was a time, but you know, we joke about it. I got like 6 seconds of fighting left in me, bud. Like I got one good punch at the Kesha that'll miss, and then I'm on the floor. So it'll be great.
This match, we get parts of this with Brody and Takeshita throwing heavy shots. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
I will sandwich this. I'll give the bad critique real quick. They spent a little bit too much time on the outside. A little bit. Again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad of it's not that big of a deal. But otherwise, this is a great match. And Fletcher and Takeshita going over on Brody King, I think is actually the right choice here. Because the other three guys all have matches at Grand Slam, which is a big show. And in order to beat Brody King, they had to hit a double brain buster.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, what else do you think? And you got to hit him with a bus. And then hope.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what they did. I like the fact that they did it and the fact that they had to hit him with such a devastating move that it seems like this could keep Brody King out of any type of equation involving Buddy Matthews for the next week and a half until he gets done with this match with Okada. I know you're not allowed to interfere. There is no such thing as interference during Continental matches, but this also adds to the idea that Matthews has to be out there by himself.
Yeah, I mean, and it's ultimately you don't want to muddy the waters on Matthews in front of his home country.
I completely agree. The next segment is an MJF in-ring promo. I noticed this about this point during the show. At no point is Toni Schiavone the one announcing them into the ring, so that's a plus side because he's the worst.
Okay.
I had to bring it back.
Yes, and you know what? I was always like, I would laugh it off and be like, "Oh yeah," and then I was watching something. I can't remember exactly what I was watching, but I heard Toni Schiavone talking in it, and so I went, "Wait a minute," and I rewound it, and I just closed my eyes and listened to him talk, and I went, "Oh my goodness gracious, Steve is right.
He's the worst.
This man is terrible."
See, it's not just a joke anymore.
No, that dog hunts. That dog right there hunts.
See, this whole time you just thought I was just saying this for laughs. No, and what's more is there's no reason to have him being the one announcing people to come in to do solo promos. You could have Justin Roberts, who is their ring the ring announcer, just announce them. There's no reason to have anyone else do it.
Yeah.
Promo starts off with MJF running down Jeff Jarrett. Oh, yeah. So he gets interrupted because Caster is being chased down by Hangman. We get an MJF Hangman face-off. So it feels very much like MJF is doing the old Jericho, I'm going to start killing off some legends thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to... I that's what I thought even before we started recording. After I'm reading my own notes, I'm going to change my theory on this.
Okay, do tell.
MJF is not just killing off outlaws. Or not just killing off legends, he's killing off outlaws. Which means Hangman is the perfect guy to come back in and take him out for it. If he takes out Jeff Jarrett, if he takes out Dustin Rhodes, you got the two Southern boys, the two Cowboys, and then you get Hangman coming in there to save them at the end of this.
Maybe there's worse things in the world than that, and I see where you're going with that. I will just say this, man. Like, one of the critiques, and anybody who says MJF is not talented on the mic or not talented in the ring, first of all, you're somebody who just really dislikes MJF and you're not looking at things objectively, because he is fantastic in the ring and he's incredible on the mic.
Agreed.
The problem is he had... Okay, you ever played somebody in Madden and you realize they run 4 plays and then you're able to, pick them off and start sacking the QB? MJF runs 4 plays. And we've seen them all. Now, sure, there might be a wrinkle in it. Maybe, he had an Omaha like once or twice, but not enough to completely change the fact that he was just throwing a streak down the side. Like, we know what's coming far too often, and that's the problem.
It's just a matter of who it is.
Exactly.
He runs the oop-de-oop every time. It's just a matter of who's getting solo on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And yeah, like I said, like you said, it just feels like he's recycling his stuff. It feels like he's recycling not even his stuff at this point. And I don't want to dislike MJF because overall, like I said, I really like the Will Ospreay Mark Davis match. I like the Hurt Syndicate promo. I love the Hounds of Hell Takeshita and Fletcher match. This was just... MJF stuff just hasn't been there lately. And so it's a little upsetting because he should be what everyone else is trying to be.
He should be a torchbearer, 100%. And you know what? And we said this, when I called you while I was driving home from work, as we were discussing what we were going to be talking about a little bit tonight. I think, in a weird way, MJF is regretting his bet on AEW because, MJF is great. And could he be a world champion in WWE? Sure. Would he be? Maybe. But MJF having an NXT run as a dominant NXT champion, leading to the main roster, all of that, and then eventually him hooking it back up with Punk, because any way you slice it, those two were gold together, or get him back around Cody. He has so much stuff there, but it's he's phoning it in my opinion. It's either that or I don't know, dude. Maybe he's just tired.
Maybe. I'll say this too. If to go with your theories, if you went to NXT, if NXT had any thoughts of getting their hooks, or WWE had any thoughts and they were going to send them to NXT, I don't think we would have gotten Ethan Page in NXT ever. I think part of that might have been like, we're talking to you, but we're also hoping that, that the A side of this CD is coming to us.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it doesn't even have to be the NXT thing. He could have gone straight to main roster. And
I think he could have too, but it's
just the idea of him though preparing somebody like we said, like honestly, having Trick have to go through a feud with an MJF type with him on the mic would push Trick. And that's kind of what I was getting at. We get him in a position with that, but he's not needed in NXT. And if you put him in NXT, you have to put the title on him like before he walks in the door. Because, if you don't, what are you doing? Like, what are we even talking about here?
Exactly. All right, we get Toni Storm versus Queen Aminata with Mariah May on commentary. Toni comes out as Mariah May. They literally say, and tonight playing Mariah May will be Timeless Toni Storm. It's perfect.
She is my favorite. She's my second favorite part of AEW.
Let me say this. I wouldn't have had her go against a babyface. Queen Aminata is a babyface in this match.
Well, she was playing Mariah May.
I hear you. The match gets a little sloppy. I think it's because Toni is trying to full on do the Mariah May stuff, and it's not her natural progression of a match. But we get a Toni win, and Mariah leaving, selling the disdain of Toni Storm doing this perfectly. It's amazing. Both of these girls are on the top of their game right now. And I know they're probably going to give the title back to Toni Storm in Australia, but I wouldn't be mad if they didn't.
So, you and I have been kind of high on Mariah May for a while, and I don't remember where I watched this. And it was the first time where I saw an opinion so starkly different from my own on Mariah May. And I can't remember where it was, and I feel bad that I can't at least kind of, point people in the direction of somebody and give this person credit. And if I can find it again, I'm going to send it to you because he wasn't wrong.
Okay.
And it's... I don't think we're wrong either. But he definitely wasn't wrong. And I was like, am I stupid? Like, it was one of those where, wait a minute, I'm dumb, but am I stupid? Like,
what'd you call me?
Yeah, basically. But it's, honestly, the women's world title kind of needs to be on Timeless Toni Storm.
Like I said, I think it's going to. I think and it could just be that I'm high on Mariah May, because I do. I think she does great work. I wouldn't be surprised if because they're obviously setting up Harley Cameron against Mercedes, but I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow drop Mariah May down into like the TBS title range after this.
She was the right person to carry the torch after Timeless Toni Storm. But as I'm starting to realize, 100% the title is making her.
I agree,
and I'm starting to see that. Like I think we were just super high on her, and now that Timeless Toni Storm is back, it's like, oh no, there really are levels to this.
Yeah, and Tony's on a different level. I will agree. The main event is Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet. So Ricochet blindsides Swerve with a chair on the ramp before the match can start. My thing with this match is overall it's not bad. It's just that it's not advertised as a no DQ, no countout match, and they spent a lot of time doing rule breaking. A lot of time.
Yeah.
And like on the outside. But they're putting on a decent match. It's a good fight. They're telling a good story. The match, the two of them, it's Ricochet and Swerve, and the two of them getting together. It's unfortunately a bit too choreographed for my liking, but that's me. That is my personal thing. I'm not saying that anyone else shouldn't like what they're doing. I am putting this directly on my stuff. There's a little bit too much. You knew they were calling it all in the back stuff. Again, this is a me thing. I'm not saying that this match wasn't good. I think it was good, and it's better than what I've seen from Ricochet lately, especially.
I mentioned this to you ahead of us recording. This is kind of saving Ricochet's career right now. Like, it's revitalizing him. It's something he's needed for so long, and he's Ricochet that's gone over the edge is a good character.
I agree. I definitely agree. So, end of this match, we get a really weird low blow. Basically, Swerve is going for the stomp, and Ricochet goes to like block it. I don't know if it's supposed to be that because he blocked it like this and it's the double stomp. that his feet are supposed to slide like onto the sides of his arms, because that doesn't make sense when you're coming from 15 feet in the air.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they were. I think they had a great idea on paper, and the execution was not proper on it. With that said, I think Ricochet winning this match in such a weird fashion or cheap way was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, even me watching it on television, and you could hear it in the crowd, they didn't understand what the heck just happened.
Yeah, it was definitely a miss. It's the right idea, but and the idea was very much the right idea. The execution didn't land exactly how it should have, and that is kind of one of the problems that we get in Ricochet matches. Where yes, it's too choreographed for your taste, a little bit for mine as well. But if it's not completely choreographed, we have those moments because so much of what Ricochet does involves him being upside down, so it kind of has to be choreographed. So
I agree. I agree.
It's a good thing.
I like that the end of the match, Ricochet ends up nailing Prince Nana.
Yeah.
With the chair as well, and steals the Prince Nana's embassy robe.
Yeah.
So I like that. Like I said, overall Dynamite, I give this like a B minus.
It would have been a higher B had we not had an for no reason death jitsu fatal 4-way impromptu for the undisputed polka dot pink belt of that. It's just I'm sorry, man. I don't want to bash Moxley because it's just I think this character's being handled poorly, or it's the fact that if he truly does have creative control,
he's handling it poorly.
And he's an idiot.
Yeah. We get it. You like indie movies, man.
Yeah, I like Romper Stomper too. You know what? I like SLC Punk. I like all those movies. But there's a reason they're indie. It's like a niche crowd.
He really does. He just breaks out every like little fad movie line that he can between like Romper Stomper or Fight Club or
yeah, it's just that you need to in this, and that's the thing, especially with the world title, you really need to cast a wide net. Like my favorite film series of all time are the Trauma films, and that's like Class of Nukem High, Toxic Avenger, Swamp Thing, things like that. They're terrible. Hell, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes,
terrible. But I love
that movie.
It. I love them for how bad they are because I just sit there and I'm like, this is awful. I love it. But I'm part of a very unique niche group there.
Oh, you're unique.
Yes, a little bit.
All right, let's move on to Collision. So Collision, though, it was pretty good. I'm going to highlight the best parts of it.
Yes, please.
All right, so we get a 3-way trios match to open the show as far as matches go. We can skip the Moxley promo. It's the same Moxley promo that we've heard for the last 4 months. It's the Undisputed Kingdom consisting of Adam Cole, Bebe, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly versus Shane Taylor Promotions consisting of Shane Taylor and the Infantry and Danny Garcia, Daddy Magic, and Cool Hand. I give this match a lot of credit because 6-man matches in general, trios matches, if you want to call them that, in general, are hard to pull off to an aspect. It's very difficult to keep the interest. It's hard to, because in a normal tag match, you have a certain formula that you can follow if you're not sure about anything. One of the guys goes in there, the baby faces get the shine right in the beginning, eventually a heel cheats, one of the baby faces takes some sympathy, the other baby face comes in for the hot tag, and then we go to a finish. If you don't know what else to do, you can stick to that formula. A trios match or a 6-man match is hard to do that with. And now you've added a third trio into it, so it makes it even harder. And I thought these guys did a really good job of keeping this match flowing and doing well with it. My main issue with anything on Collision is just everything does doesn't feel special on the show. Like, this is very clearly the B show.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that I will say most is we always often talk about like the jamoking, and 9 people, a triple threat trios. If three squared or whatever the heck it is, 3 cubed. I don't know at this point. There's a lot of threes happening, and to be able to pull off that much chaos, because even a triple threat match is hard to pull off. So we had 3 triple threat matches simultaneously in one match that wasn't a triple threat singles match. It was, never mind. But there was less jamoking than expected. All I know is I'm trying to do math right now, and I have been up since like 3:30 in the morning. So, I have the IQ of a potato.
Perfect. End of the match, Undisputed Kingdom ended up winning it, and they get jumped by the Trios Champions members of the Four Horsemen. So as Claudio is kind of cutting a promo on Adam Cole, Adam starts yelling at him, and Claudio says, "What's that now?" And Adam Cole, this is actually one of the best lines I've heard him say since his comeback too. You picked a fight with the wrong 3 guys.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect. It was right to the point. And you see Roddy come in and hit a high knee on somebody, and then O'Reilly slides in. High knee. And then O'Reilly slides in and locks Wheeler Yuta in that ankle lock.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes Claudio pulling Wheeler out of there.
Yes, it took the adult to be the adult at that point.
Yes.
He definitely had a dad moment.
So give me my kid back.
I know he's annoying. Just give me him back.
Mine.
I'll deal with him.
So that's up Undisputed Kingdom versus the Death Riders for the Trios title on Wednesday. That's why I'm saying, as much as we're going to specifically report on Grand Slam Australia, there are some bigger matches happening on Dynamite next week. So we have a tag title match. We have this Trios title match. We do have to talk about that stuff next week. The next thing is we get the Harley halftime show. Mercedes ends up interrupting her about 30 seconds into this and cuts a terrible promo.
Who'd have thought?
I'll say this: Harley Cameron is entertaining. The fans get behind her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying she's the wrestler that Mercedes Moné is, but she gets every other aspect of what this business is.
Yes, and that line of this, your best work was when my hand was up your ass as a puppet, was perfect.
Perfect.
And she delivered it with a ton of conviction. And then even when Mercedes slapped her, and then she made sure she held the microphone so the crowd could hear her get real angry, and then she punched her with the microphone, so it added the extra like thump.
Yeah.
It was, all of that was just perfect to get the message across, because did the punch look incredible? No. Mercedes sold it well, but you had a thump because of the microphone, which
it sounded good. It looked good enough for the sound to work perfectly.
Yes.
Again, this sets them up for Grand Slam Australia. I feel like at least one of the Australian wrestlers is going to have get one of the titles in this.
I think it's going to be Buddy.
I think it's going to be Buddy as well. Although you could make the argument that Fletcher is, since he's the Australian wrestler, is going. I don't know, because Toni Storm is in there for a title. There's a lot going on right now. I hope it's Buddy. I hope it's Buddy.
It's.
I hope it's Buddy
time.
And Toni take this.
It's about damn time.
After this, we get a face-off between Murphy and Okada backstage, and it feels like we might get not just Comedy Okada during this match. We might get Rainmaker Okada.
So if we can get 20 minutes of Tokyo Dome Okada and Buddy Matthews, yes, please.
Yeah. 15 to 20 minutes, like 17 strong minutes of them too.
Yeah. And just think of the Rainmaker counters into Buddy Matthews flying knees into, it's going to be incredible.
It's going to be amazing.
It's that has everything I want written all over it. We've been saying stuff like that for so long. Like, I look forward to when we inevitably get, and if we can get like Kenny from the Tokyo Dome with Buddy Matthews.
Yeah.
And then eventually, let's hope we wind the clock back and we get Tokyo Dome Kenny and Tokyo Dome Okada, and we're just sitting there with our jaws on the floor again, going, good luck everyone ever following that.
Exactly. Like I said, I hope for all that. I know I asked you at one point, like, I just don't understand why we're not getting that right now. Like, it very much feels like we're not getting the same level from these guys, and maybe they're not looking to work the same way that they did back then.
I'm sure that's part of it, but they also haven't hooked it up together. I think the two of them, I think that's just something special. I mean, outside of Ospreay, who has Kenny been in the ring with? And the MJF match that he had where he put MJF over, that was phenomenal. But don't forget, though, Kenny had everything wrong with him for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I think more of him was broken than was healthy for a long time. So I think that's why we have a better chance at this. And Okada has slowed down. He hasn't done a G1, things like that. So we've gotten an Okada who hasn't had to shoulder a promotion for a while, and he's gotten to just be himself. So leading into these things, I think 100% we're going to get everything we need out of them. I mean, heck, when Okada retained his Continental Championship, that match with Ospreay was unbelievable.
It was so good. It was so good. We get a really good women's match here. Thunder Rosa versus Penelope Ford. I am very high on both these women. My only issue with anything lately is Thunder Rosa has another new gimmick now. She went from doing the sign gimmick in the crowd. Before that, she was the serious La Meta Meta. Now she's like the I'm just happy to be here girl.
I think they don't know what to do with her, and they want to do something, and it's throw some stuff at the wall, let's see what sticks. And she's confident enough to just go out there and do whatever.
And do it.
Yeah.
I think specifically Penelope Ford should be higher on the card. That's my own opinion. I think she's phenomenal. I think she does really, really good work. I think if Ring of Honor had a real television deal, both these girls would be perfect for Ring of Honor. Because they have a better, they have more stuff for the women to do over there. I feel like between Athena being the world champion over there and Velvet Red being the television champion, Thunder ends up winning this, and they harken back to a backstage interaction that she had with Megan Bayne, who comes out and, pun intended, steals her thunder. Ha ha ha. Penelope Ford ends up jumping Thunder from behind, and then Megan Bayne really leaves her lane. She hits her with an F5. And we get a Mariah May squash match right afterwards, which is, it's a very quick squash match. She ends up dressing the other girl up like Toni Storm. Luther comes out, presents Mariah with the bloody shoe. And when she turns back around to start like laying into fake Toni Storm with the shoe, it ends up being real Toni Storm. Magic. It was a magic. Oh my god. Fake thumb fits over real thumb. It's amazing.
I love
it. This storyline is working out perfectly though. And
yes.
And the main event of the night is Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe in another one of their banger matches. I'm not surprised that it was a banger. I will say this. I think the match went a little bit too long. I know, Hound, you had said you'll give them a pass on the blood. I don't think they needed the blood for it. Match was great. I think that it just went too long.
Yeah, it definitely went like 3 minutes too long. And of course they didn't need the blood, but AEW is kind of, leaning into it. And if that's going to be your identity, okay, I don't like that identity, but okay. So just because it's not my cup of tea, at least we're not having this is murder chance right now.
That's true.
So.
But that was Collision, and that was the week. Legion, again, thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. Hal, thanks for jumping in. Again, I apologize for the way our recording schedule is lately. As you can see from the back of me, my entire wall is empty. I am in the middle of a massive move, and I will be changing how my recording is slightly for the next week or two. With that said, we appreciate you guys sticking with us. We love you guys. Legion, as always, thank you for being here. Hound, you want to send the people off a little bit?
Of course I do. Legion, thank you so much. Steve, thank you for spending this time with me. It means more to me than I could ever tell you. And Legion, thank you for giving us your most precious resource, your time. Take care of each other. God bless, and I hope each day is better for you than the previous.
And as always, Legion, remember, tuck chin when you bump.